Ayo, unmute. Unmute करो. ये.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Honorable participants of today's session and respected audience, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and a very good evening to one and all. I would like to begin today's session by invoking the blessings of the Almighty. I would like to call upon Sister Rabia Haider to recite a few verses from the Holy Quran. Sister Rabia Haider.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm audible?
Yes, sister, you're audible.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. خلق الإنسان من علق. اقرأ وربك الأكرم. الذي علم بالقلم. علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه استغنى إن إلى ربك الرجعى. صدق الله العلي العظيم. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Read in the name of your Lord, who created man from a clot of blood. Read, and your Lord is most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man what he knew not. Nevertheless, man is rebellious, for he considers himself self-sufficient. Verily, to your Lord is the return. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallahu khairan, Sister Rabia. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to Aura e-magazine's very first virtual anniversary celebration. As you all might be aware, Aura is a monthly women's magazine that envisions to expand the boundaries of how women's issues are limited to certain acceptable topics. With this idea in mind, the journey of Aura began in March 2021, covering various topics such as politics, health, family, faith, religion, environment, and education. The journey was kept on during the year of 2021 despite the COVID situation. This was made possible with the help and support of different writers, writing various articles, essays, interviews, and not to forget the designers and the back office support team. And here we are today, celebrating its first anniversary, completing a whole year in March 2022. This month issue of Aura features our first anniversary special edition. The celebrations of the first anniversary began last month, where we had 14 Twitter spaces, 2 major online programs, and many offline programs in different states all across India. Aura thinks this anniversary is also special because it believes in uplifting and bringing the best of women's writing to your screens and hopes of carving out a space for those voices that have been historically underrepresented or silenced. Today is the evening of celebrating this happiness together. With an exciting lineup of speakers and poets, we hope this program will stay in your hearts and minds long after it's done. I welcome you all and the speakers as well as the audience to today's memorable evening. Ahlan, sahlan, marhaba, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Aisha Sultana Sahiba, editor of the Aura e-magazine, for the welcome address. Aisha Sultana Sahiba.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A very good evening and thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. We are very much pleased to be able to welcome those of you that have been with us since an year, as well as those who are new to our e-magazine Aura. I am extremely overwhelmed to address you all on the first anniversary of Aura. We are really proud and exuberant to acclaim that after an year of success, we are ready with all new hopes and hues to bring out our next issue with more interesting and informating topics. Our previous issues published tried to unfold the unraveled world of the most unforgettable and precious moments of the aura of a woman. We started with an objective that our magazine would attempt to engage with the women's voices and debates while centering social, political, economic, and personal experiences of women from different communities, drawing upon an Islamic framework of gender justice and social justice. Aura is also an attempt to challenge the popular stereotypes and media representations about the lives, dreams, and hopes of women from the marginalized communities in India and also beyond. As a part of our anniversary celebrations, as you all have heard just now, that we have started our anniversary celebrations and the promotion of our magazine since February 15 to the end of the month, that is February 28th. We have conducted 14 Twitter spaces on diverse topics, as well as 2 online major programs for the contributors as well as for our readers. Our magazine was launched an year ago in a very testing time, wherein multiple contexts of political repression, the pandemic, and continuous forms of societal injustice prevail. Aura can be viewed as a launch pad for the women's urges to blossom naturally as leaders. The enthusiastic write-ups of our writers are indubitably sufficient to hold the interest and admiration of the readers. Our magazine is indeed a pious attempt to make our talents give shape to their leadership, because we believe that success depends upon our power to perceive, to observe, and the power to explore. We are sure that the positive attitude, our hard work, sustained efforts, and innovative ideas exhibited by our writers will surely stir the mind of our readers and take them to the surreal world of unalloyed joy and pleasure. We have put in relentless efforts to bring excellence to this treasure trove. We recognize, appreciate, applaud, and foster the fine blend of sensibilities in our writers, changing a negative outlook from drab and demoralized to bright and expectant. Our magazine, Aura, also exposes the team spirit which is built up within through the collective actions, thoughts, and aspirations. All these, we believe, would spur higher growth and expertise in our team. I welcome you all to our virtual anniversary celebrations with an exciting lineup of our speakers, poets, and performers. We hope that this program will stay in your hearts and minds long after it's done. The keynote address by Sadatullah Hussaini Saab, Amir Jamaat, will be followed by a panel discussion titled Beyond Equality Towards Liberation of All Women. I welcome our panelists, Kavita Srivatsava, Human Resource Activist, Dr. Sylvia Karpagam, Public Health Activist, Cynthia Stephen, Gender and Development Expert, Dr. Kaiser Anjum, Educationalist, and Dr. Shahnaz Begum, Educationalist. I also welcome all the members who have participated here, our readers, and the people who are supporting us since an year. On this occasion of our anniversary, it gives us immense pleasure to ensure that this magazine has successfully accomplished its objectives. The reflection of the writer's creativity and achievements is the epitome of the magazine. Our writers have put forth their ideas and thoughts that are too deep to be expressed and too strong to be suppressed. This magazine, Aura, has now published its 13th issue, that is the anniversary special, with as its cover story, Equality Slogans, Empowering or Endangering Womanhood. This is before you due to the combined efforts of the editorial board and also our writers. I take this opportunity to thank all the contributors as their contribution and support, which is the reason that makes this magazine endearing with our readers. I heartily thank and welcome all the guests and readers and hope that our magazine would enjoy your critical acclaim too and prove itself to play a vital role in the all-round development of women to explore their aura. I once again welcome you all on this occasion, and I request you all to support us by subscribing our magazine, www.auramag.in. We have our Facebook page, Twitter page, and Instagram handles, which you can subscribe. Our magazine's application app is also found on Google Play Store. Please do subscribe our magazine and support us by contributing, by suggesting, and giving your sincere opinions. I once again welcome you all and thank you all. Jazakallahu khairan kasira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan, Aisha Sahiba. That gave us a brief insight of today's wonderful evening. Dearest audience, next in line, we have with us Amir Jamaat, Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, Sayyid Sadatullah Hussaini Sahab with us today. It is indeed an honor for us to have you with us today, sir. Without taking much of your time, I would like to invite Sayyid Sadatullah Hussaini Sahab for the keynote address.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Respected guests of today's function, Chief Editor of Aura, Muhtarama Rahmatun Nisa Sahiba, its editor, Aisha Sultana Sahiba, Sub-Editor, Shaima Sahiba, Chairman of Aware Trust, other members of official team of Aura editorial team, and ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and mercy of Allah be upon all of you. 1 year ago, I had the privilege to be the part of the launching ceremony of Aura magazine. No one could have imagined that day that within 1 year, this small initiative would grow into a full-fledged and respectable online platform. Aura is now being read in all parts of our country and has become a vibrant and potent voice of Muslim women in India. I congratulate the whole Aura team for this great achievement. I remember in the inaugural program, I underlined that the Islamic traditions envisaged a particular aura of a woman This aura is characterized by the noble values of freedom, modesty, dignity, elegance, self-confidence, confidence in the feminine being, justice, and other similar values. I had requested that time that the Aura magazine should represent this aura, the aura of a Muslim woman in the mainstream media. I feel that in this 1 year journey, Aura has been highly successful in representing this. I had the opportunity to go through many issues of the magazine, the special features on themes like freedom, education, environment, girl child, ethical finance. So I felt they all were highly captivating and intellectually stimulating. The interview, which is a regular part of Aura, the news analysis, the poetry and other literary creations. So everything I found exemplary, and they all exhibited the extraordinary talents that our girls and our ladies do possess. So from the bottom of my heart, I express my feelings of pleasure and pride and congratulate everybody involved in this project, all the members of editorial team, the staff members, designers, technical support team, writers, and of course, readers. Respected audience, today's woman is trapped between two extremities. On the one side, there is traditional society where she is prey to extreme male chauvinism, where she is not able to express her individuality, not in a position to utilize her talents for the development of society. So, this is the condition in traditional societies. But on the other side, the modern, westernized, commercialized, and capitalist society that we have in our urban areas. So it has also been equally, rather let me say, that more aggressive in the exploitation of women. Imperialism is by nature meant for exploiting the weaker sections of society. Capitalist imperialism exploits the masses for its materialistic benefit. So they exploit poor countries, poor people, tribals, downtrodden sections of society. So women is also a weaker class in our society. So that is also being exploited by the capitalist imperialism for its vested interests in multiple ways. It cares not for their physical and emotional needs. Instead, make them work day and night. It commercializes their body and soul, harasses them sexually, and exploits them physically, financially, and emotionally. So, these are two extremes in which our women are trapped. They are safe and secure neither in traditional societies nor in modern westernized societies. So what we need today is to find a moderate path that is free from both kinds of exploitations and that provides women fullest freedom, justice, equality, dignity, and protection. And I think Aura has taken up the noble task of finding out that moderate path. The real issues of women, they are neglected and fabricated and politically motivated issues. They are getting all the limelight. In our country, over 5 crore girl children, 50 million girl children have disappeared in last few years through prenatal and postnatal homicides. We have villages, in many states we have villages that have not witnessed the birth of any girl for years. For years, they have not witnessed the birth of any girl. Every day, around 20 women succumb to dowry-related atrocities. 30% of Indian women are reported to be the victims of domestic violence. Even in educated middle class and middle class families, we have women, high salaried professional women who don't have the right over a single rupee from their own earnings. There were reports of medical practitioners, doctors, gynecologists who are forced to hand over their complete earnings to their in-laws and husbands. They don't get the share in their ancestral properties. Sexual violence, even incest violence, incest abuse, it has become common phenomenon in many urban localities. According to a report of Delhi police, 13% of all sexual violence and sexual violence related cases are related to incest abuse. This is alarming. We have around 3.5 million abandoned women who are still hoping for their husbands to join them. They can neither go for remarriage nor can live a happy married life. We have biggest number of widows in the world, around 6 crore, 60 million widows are living in India, and a good number of them comprises of young ladies who are not allowed to remarry. So these are real issues of our society. But look at media, what kind of fabricated and politically motivated issues they are raising. So we need powerful voices of sanity, decency, and moderation, and that too by women themselves. We need to discuss the real issues of women and find their solutions. We need to empower them and ensure that they get full rights that they deserve. Not just equal rights, as your panel discussion has rightly selected the topic, not just equal rights, but complete justice. Justice sometimes demands more than equality. And that is what women need today. They should get fullest freedom as human being with fullest protection to their feminine being. And that is what Islamic traditions stand for. They have given fullest freedom to women and also provided her maximum protection. In the race for equality, woman is made to surrender her femininity, her gender identity, her unique gender character. Islamic traditions have given her a comfortable space for development and for contributing to society by providing fullest protection to her feminine being. We all know that the wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hazrat Khatija radhiyallahu ta'ala anha, she was a big businesswoman. Her goods were traded in countries as far as Syria and Yemen. So she was a kind of multinational. She was having a multinational business. Biographers, they report that the total turnover of all traders in Makkah, Hazrat Khadija's turnover was more than the accumulated total turnover of all Meccan traders. Makkah was the biggest trade center at that time. But she was such a big businesswoman, such a rich woman, that her turnover was bigger than the combined turnover of all traders in Makkah. Zainab bint Mawiya, wife of Hazrat Abdullah bin Masud, a great companion and an expert of Islamic fiqh and Islamic and Quran tafsir. So she was a very skilled industrialist. In a hadith book, it is mentioned, Wakanat Imratun Sana, that she was a skilled industrialist woman. She used those skills for her livelihood. Rufaida Aslamiya, she was a medical practitioner. And when great Ansari Sahabi Saad bin Maaz radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu got injured, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam arranged a medical camp inside Masjid Nabawi, erected a tent and arranged a medical camp. And Rufaida was asked to treat him and provide him the medical support. Aisha, another wife of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was a great scholar. So much so that some people say that half of the religion is taught to Ummah by Aisha radhiyallahu ta'ala anha. Salma was a great stateswoman and political advisor. So all these examples we are having in our traditions that show that women is not subjugated. She has full freedom. She has freedom to use her talents for the betterment of society, for contributing to society. And still she has full protection. And this honor and freedom is given by recognizing the feminine character of a woman. This role continued even in later centuries. Recently, a Cambridge professor, Akram Nadvi, has completed his work on Muhaddisat, the women scholars of Islam. The 47-volume Magnus Opus has biographies of around 10,000 women scholars. Some of them were teachers of great Islamic scholars like Imam Abu Hanifa. Many of these women, they taught inside great mosque, even in the lawns of Masjid Nabawi and Harme Kaaba. So all these details are provided. A brief summary of this 47 volumes is available in English also. So we need to revive the same spirit in Muslim women, and we also need to tell the world about all these traditions. Unfortunately, our bright traditions are faded under the twin shadows of false propaganda on the one side, and our own downfall and backwardness on the other side. A misguided traditions, you can say. So Islam and Islamic traditions have the strong inbuilt system to provide a moderate path that is free from both the extremities that I have mentioned. Islam has given women the rights that are more than equal, as the topic of your panel discussion says. As a daughter, she is not only equal, but more important to her parents. As Prophet ﷺ has declared special and more rewards, multiple rewards for upbringing the daughters. As a mother, she is more important than father. There are many ahadiths which clarify this, that mother is more important than father. And as wife, she enjoys maximum economic rights and immunity from many responsibilities, yet having all the rights and freedom. So I think Aura is doing a great job by communicating these beautiful teachings as represented in our traditions, and it will serve the purpose of both intra-community and inter-community communication. Outside community, many misunderstandings exist even today related to the position of women in Islam. What is being practiced in Muslim societies? People think that that is what Islam is. So our own practices sometimes create a lot of misunderstandings. Recent hijab controversy has also shown the magnitude of such misunderstandings in different communities. So we need inter-community communication, dialogue, discussion that should facilitate the proper understanding of Islam's perfectly balanced and highly practical system of gender justice. And obviously, we also need the intra-community communication that should bring in the much needed reform in Muslim society and take it out from un-Islamic exploitative traditions and practices and ensure that Islam's paradigm of gender justice is truly and perfectly realized in our practical lives, both in letter and spirit. So I'm observing that the educated girls and women from all communities, they are welcoming the Aura magazine and regularly reading it, contributing it, participating in different platforms and fora that Aura is providing, enthusiastically contributing to it. So it gives the hope that soon this will become a powerful alternative voice of women, the voice of decency and moderation, inshallah. and will serve both the purposes that I mentioned, that it will strengthen the inter-community communication by communicating the real spirit of Islam to our Hindu, Sikh, Christian brothers and sisters, and would also work as a platform for intra-community communication by bringing much needed reform in Muslim society. I again congratulate everyone associated with this magazine and pray for its success. And I appeal everybody who is present here to take active part in the ongoing drive by the magazine to popularize this among Indian women and link as many women and girls as possible with this platform. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Jazakallahu khairan, Saadullah Hussaini Sahab. That was definitely a very eye-opening address, stating the sad reality, true facts of our country, and some motivational lady personalities of the Islamic history. Next in line, we have an exciting panel discussion on the topic Beyond Equality Towards Liberation of All Women. I would like to hand over to the moderator of this session, Shaima, sub-editor of the Aura e-magazine, to moderate the session.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Yes, Shaima, you're audible.
Okay, thank you so much. Respected Amir Jamaat, Saadullah Hussaini Sahab, the entire team of Aura, our chief editor, Rahmatun Nisa Saiba, Aisha Sultana Saiba, our editor, chairperson of the Tweet Trust, the entire Aura team, which has made this program possible and which has made the entire last 1 month's continuous energetic programs, anniversary programs possible. I welcome and all of our listeners, our supporters, our readers, and our contributors. Thank you so much for joining us here, joining us in such strength and such support here, and for taking out your valuable time today. As the sub-editor of Aura, it is a lot of joy and pleasure for me to tell you that before I come to the topic of the panel, that for one of the visions of Aura, one of the hopes of Aura is to create a community of thinking and critical women, women who can reflect on the world around them, women who can think about what is going on, and who can boldly question and fearlessly question when they see that something is wrong, and women who not only seek to I would request all of you to mute yourself, particularly during this. Yes. So coming back to what I was saying at that point. So in this quest for creating a community of listening women, thinking women, and writing women, we have been really, really blessed to learn from so many women activists and academics and journalists. And that really has been the reason that has kept Aura going and growing in many ways. Because there have been women, there have been people, academics, journalists, writers who have taken out their time and energy to guide us when we are making mistakes. Even the smallest of corrections and the most broad of suggestions, all of them have made it possible for us to sustain. So that is the reason that we are having this panel discussion as well today. And I'm very grateful for all the speakers to have joined us. I welcome Professor Khaizer Anjum, Kavita Srivastava from PUCL, Dr. Sylvia Karpagam, a public health doctor, Cynthia Stephen, a gender and development expert, and Dr. Shahnaz Begum, a professor of English. And I would request all of you to not only hear the panel discussion, but also stick around for the performance, entertainment, and poetry section afterwards. We have many young poets and performers joining us who are very eager to present their art in front of all of you. So I would request you to stay with us for the remainder of this evening. Coming to the panel itself, the title Beyond Equality Towards the Liberation of All Women is a carefully thought out title, and it is drawn from the theme, I think perhaps maybe not deliberately, but from the themes of our first ever issue that came out, and also of the latest issue that has come out. When we brought out the first issue in March 2021, we were discussing the importance of women's leadership and of women's roles. And just yesterday, when our 13th issue came out, we were discussing how mere equality is not enough for women. And that argument, the debate around equality, is a complicated one. And I think what best illustrates it is the recent hijab debate, in one sense. Because of course, we seek equality and not in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of the state. And so there are certain, there is a way in which we are all created human. We are created with rights that cannot be snatched away by anybody. And so we expect to be treated as equal, and that is the language in which we demand our rights. However, equality cannot and should not be equated to uniformity. And these debates are very long-running debates, I would say. Perhaps, for example, for those of you who come from the field of education or development, there has been a long-running debate around the difference between equality and equity. The fact that we treat everybody as equal, does it mean that we ignore their unique needs, the historical oppressions, their differences? And that is where we diverge with a very blanket understanding of equality, and try to seek or to understand that women in this world, which is a patently unequal world, have unique and different needs in every field. So recently, for example, just to give an example, unfortunately, we do not have somebody who could speak on the very interesting aspect of how the concept of gender budgeting works. So as I asked this budgeting expert last month in an interview I did, why do we need gender budgeting? Isn't the budget for everybody? And what she said was that if you do not design policies and schemes and the budget keeping in mind the needs of women, then you will not be addressing them. You will be addressing the population which in default you are seeing as male. So unless you make these adjustments and unless you make these qualifications based on the needs of people, equality falls short. Similarly, if you look at the Indian Constitution, many people who are anti-reservation, for example, argue that reservation is a violation of equality. But reservation, as our foremothers and forefathers of the Constituent Assembly had argued, is not a violation of equality. It is a practice to establish equality in a substantive way. Because if we just merely say that everybody is equal, it does not address the unique needs. So to establish equality in the longer run, you might have to accommodate the needs of unique and individual communities and individuals in a way that appears to be unequal or giving certain people more attention than others. So today we have put together this wonderful panel where we are going to be talking to people from different fields, educationists, academics, health experts, and those who are experts at the world of politics, for instance, to find out that in their fields, with their experience, how does this question of equality and the particular needs of women pan out. So I think first we will give a few minutes, I think 10 minutes to each speaker. And if there is some time, we'll follow up with questions. So first of all, I would like to call Dr. Khaizer Anjuk, who is already a speaker, I think. Please unmute yourself. And as an educationist, as the Dean of Faculty of Business Management in Telangana University, you must have a lot of engagement with students, with faculty, with the institution of a university as a whole, and the institution of education as a whole. So what do you think are unique needs of women students and also women teachers? Particularly in the last some time, we've been seeing a lot of debates around women students, Muslim women students. There have been debates around the access of marginalized students, Dalit students, Adivasi women students to campuses. So as a teacher, as somebody who is both in an academic role and as an administrative role, what can you say about the unique needs of women students and how should the government and the society address them? Thank you so much. Please continue.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Esteemed President, Jamaat Islami Hind, Qadratullah Hussaini sir, eminent personalities who are present on the virtual platform today, I mean eminent speakers as well as elegant listeners, and the organizers, I can say that here, the ARA team, entire team, editorial board members, including all the members, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and very good evening to one and all. So let me first thank Almighty Allah Ta'ala for giving me this opportunity. And then at the outset, let me congratulate the entire Aura team for their successful completion of 1 year. As the time passes, maybe like I can say, the months have become the years. In that way, means time is passing very, very fastly. I can say the last month itself, as if the ARA is launched, and now it has successfully completed 1 year. So let me congratulate the entire team who are contributing. Totally, I can say the contribution is invaluable in my almost all the fields. That maybe the education, maybe the politics, maybe the health. I think all the fields, if I say. So then, if I come back to the question, whatever is been asked to me here, being an educationist as well as you can say the administrator, when we discuss about the unique needs of the women, so one thing, as the topic is rightly, we can justify that beyond the equality. So whenever any kind of the competition, any kind of equality, any kind of the test or examination we want to conduct, we want to see everything should be normal. At that condition only, in that conditions only, we are going to conduct the test. So when we know exactly that there is actually human beings are equal, but men and women are not identical. They are not quite same. So whenever we are taking care of these issues like equality or the gender issues comes, people are taking that equality term in a very different manner, I can say. Means if I use the word the narrow-mindedness, it's I think probably suits the word. Everyone, maybe including the students, to the teachers, to the businessman, to the politicians, everyone, whoever, maybe even the persons who are planning the policies of the nation, when they are deciding about this equality, the rational decision making is being done. But when it comes to the other side of that, here equality is taken as a physical equality. So remember that here women are far beyond, as the term, the rightly I can repeat number of times that here, far beyond the equality. That the best quality among all the qualities, all the features, all the attributes I can say here, which a human being, or especially I can say the women possess, is the motherhood. So that makes her quite different among all the features. As the hadith mafhum is there, heaven lies under the feet of the mother. Means the mother who gives the birth is making the entire world, I can say. She is going to give the birth, she nurtures, she molds the personality, and she is making the society, and a whole, she is building the nation. So whenever the student's point of view we discuss as a teacher and as a professor, you can take as an administrator, So the other part means you can take the recipients who are there, they are taking equality as the physical point of view, means physically both are equal. So let me clear here once again. So the equality doesn't come in the physical point of view. So being a business management faculty, I can say whenever we are discussing about the international theories about the business, we are going to use one theory that is called comparative advantage theory. Means if at all any country wants to excel in the field, it has to see actually what kind of the comparative advantage it has got. For example, we are going to see the Saudi and Gulf countries, they are going to have the oil mines. So they are going to focus on that more. When it comes to China, we can say the population is more, so HR, they can use human resource a bit more HR point of view. So whatever the advantage you have, in that you have to excel and you have to develop your country and you have to prove yourself. So where the women is there, so women can also excel, but the field should be different. The field may not be the physical field where you have to fight, where you have to prove yourself physically by, you can take, the scale should not be there for the physical measurement. Anyhow, we know due to many reasons, I may not mention here, the physical weakness, whatever is there in the women, she is physically weak. We have to accept the fact. And we have to follow the code of conduct, code of ethics, the morals, the principles, whatever are there for the security of a woman, 100%. So keeping these things, if at all we want to compete, we have to compete that mentally, wherever the things are normal, wherever the male and female are equal. Just an example we can take when we are going to conduct the examination in the university, the boys and girls both are writing the same question paper. It's okay because the level, the intelligence level is quite same. So though maybe the differences may be in the depth, we're not going that much, it's okay, they can write that here. But when any kind of the, for example, I'm going to quote for understanding sake, if you take any boxing, if you take any kind of the wrestling activity, you can take any kind of the competition is there, the male competition is quite different and the female competition is quite different. Why? Because we know the fact that they are not physically equal. So the equality has been taken by almost all the people as they are physically equal and they can do whatever a man can do. And remember that. So whenever we are going to use the term equality, it means being that we have to accept the womanhood as very positive point of view. So when we are going to give as a womanhood, as a motherhood, so then if you are going to compete, keeping those conditions, then we are going to prove that your woman is going to excel. So let me say that here as one of the famous poetess, because poems also you're going to be presented here. So just it may resemble that here. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I will rise. These are the words of Maya Angelou. She's a famous poetess. So, but the last word I do repeat now, but still, like dust, I will rise. So I want to make a small correction with my own this dayness you can take here, but still like a dawn, I will rise. So remember, human rights are women rights are human rights. Never distinguish between them. First, recognize them as a human being and then think about the qualities, about the features, whatever she possesses. And then depending upon that, if you want to test, you can test that, provided the freedom, whatever the term we are going to use, liberation, not at the cost of her security and the safety. It doesn't mean the freedom means she has to come out at the poster like how the men are moving around. It's not like that. Her dignity is to be maintained. As womanhood has to be protected. So these things are there. So in that way, whenever anything is there, means you have to think human rights, women rights. First, treat her as a human being, and then think about the qualities, think about the weaknesses, whatever she possesses, and then you can open up the competition ground for her so there she can prove. So with a small example, as I've told that here people are taking this, even if you say the beyond equality or maybe the equality or fighting for the equality, all the things, if we observe that here, a simple small example to understand a layman you can take it, though experts are here. With your permission, I want to say that usually what happens when a VIP comes, just I can quote my example like that. A VIP came to our place. So I'm working in Telangana University. You can take maybe a politician or maybe a big businessman, any person you can take. For an example, I'm going to mention here. A VIP came here, and before the VIP's visit or VIP's, you can take here a speech. Many people have come, like they're going to check everything properly arranged or not. They're going to check everything. They're going to inspect everything. and they are going to make proper arrangement. When we ask them here why all the things are taking place, why this checking is taking place, each and every item, maybe the minor item, they are going to check. So then they told, no, he's very important person. You can take a famous personality, maybe in the political field, or maybe social you can take, or maybe any kind of the field you can take, the business field you can take. So like that they've answered. Means safety is important, because safety and security of a VIP is safety and security of a nation. Okay, we accept that. We are taking in a positive way, okay, because the safety of a VIP or maybe the very important person is there, the safety of a nation, we do accept and we support that activities here. In the same way, just I would like to say that because of the need of the hour you can take here, when maybe a daughter goes to maybe outside to write an examination or maybe to any place for an interview, so along with the daughter, the father accompanies. In the same way, you can take care when maybe a wife goes, maybe her husband is going to accompany. In the same way, a sister is going, the brother may accompany. For what purpose these people are going to accompany a woman? The same thing means the question comes here because experience teaches a lot of things. So in that way, why they are going to come in the same way as the security of a VIP, the security of a nation, security of a woman is also equally important for the security of a family. When the families are safe and secured, societies are going to be safe and secured. When the societies are safe, automatically and ultimately, I can say the nation is going to be safe. So when we are going to judge the VIP safety and security point of view, the gods are there, many people are there around them, we are taking very positively. And whenever the male, means you can take the persons who are having the relationship, if they are going to come along with them, if they are going to guide them, we are going to provide them security here, then people are going to tell that female is dependent. So why it is the view changes now? So we have to be very broad viewpoint of here. We have to think like that. Why? Because women are physically weak. So then don't challenge her to prove physically something. So she has to maintain her dignity. Yes, people are working, we are working now, but we have to maintain the dignity. And all the things you can take it, provided the same conditions, everyone can compete. So now the competition comes, education field, we can see what is the female literate, you can take the rate. Now the sir has mentioned now here, approximately if you're going to observe that here, it is female education rate is about 2020 report, if we take 54%. And then when compared to the male, it is far, you can take here below. And just now, as we have heard about the news, when it comes to, you can take here missing females. So if you're going to observe that about 4.6 crore females, means about 4.6 crore females missing in the India. So just observe the figure, what is mentioned here, 4.6 crore females, missing females. What about the security and safety? We are thinking about beyond equality. We want just to treat, first of all, here equal as a human being. And next you can see that here, the rape statistics given by the United States here, the statistical figures you can take here every minute, 1 and 2. And the figure is quite mentioned here, 27 rapes daily base here, if you're going to observe the World Population Review. So these are the things. So when we are discussing, when we are debating, when we are going to give all this information here, first comes the safety and security of any human being. Remember that here, whether it is a male or the female. And then comes about, you can take care of the liberation. So liberation doesn't mean that here, at the cost of your family, at the cost of your safety and security, you have to come out and be among all the men, because, you know, one way or other way, the women are exploited. Money makes many things. I do accept that here, but it's not going to solve all the things. It cannot buy you the invaluable things, the family atmosphere. So where the children are there, where the family is there, we have to give due respect to all these relations here. And then we can prove our victory over the society, over the nation. But when we are going to do few kind of the things, like maybe the term itself says that here, equality proving in earning, is it women empowerment means only earning money? It's not like that. Empowerment is nothing but giving the power so that she is a human being. She has the equal rights in almost all the aspects. A way back, if you go to the ancient, the Islamic way, you can take care of the financial rights, though nobody thought at that time the financial rights are there. She has given the heritage in that here, in this case. So these are the things are there. But as you can take here, as time is also going to be up given time. So just I want to say, concluding remarks from my point of view. So just beyond the equality, yes, it is there. She is not at all equal to men. Remember that here. When we accept the fact, then we can prove ourselves. So where we are equal, maybe the education point of view, maybe the intelligence point of view, maybe in case of nurturing, in case of molding the personalities point of view, so there we can excel. So where the dignity of women is not going to get harmed by any kind of exploitation. So in that way, so though financial needs are equally important, provided that her safety and security. So remember, I want to say here, the women may be the beyond equality. It is rightly justified when we provide her the safety and security, and that too not at the cost of the family system, because the pain of a child is better understood by a mother rather than a father. So these are the things, these are the, you can take a God gifted things, I can say here. So we have to be proud to be a woman, and then we have to move in that path here where we can justify whatever the role is given to us without disturbing our family system, without disturbing our society, without disturbing any kind of the system that is prevailing in the form of, you can take here the ethics, moral, all the things. So let me hand over it to you back to the organizer.
Shaima, I think you are mute.
Yeah. Am I audible now? Am I
Yes,
audible?
Kunal.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Khaizer Anjum, thank you so much for your time and your words. I think as our keynote speaker Sayatullah Hussaini have also said that while as I think you have emphasized on one aspect of how exploitation exists on in terms of you could say maybe corporate lifestyle or even the pressures to earn, so on and so forth. But it is equally important, as our keynote speaker also said, that to be aware of the fact that many of the both God-given and constitutionally available rights to women to whether to work, whether to seek justice in society, to do community work, to do that kind of socially oriented work. All of those rights have to also be enshrined and defended by our families, by society, by our institutions. And that is the reason that I asked you also particularly about the education sector in itself, because we are seeing a wonderful growth of young women in education, acquiring higher education. And even now, when they are literally being denied higher education, they are trying to seek higher education at all costs. So we must also explore, I think, further, going beyond the questions of the questions raised so far, and look at these aspects as well. What does equality or equity mean in the world of education? What does it mean to be a young woman in this world, facing many challenges and yet trying to hold on to one's dignity as well as hold on to one's dreams? So coming to our next speaker, Dr. Sylvia Karpagam. Dr. Sylvia, I would like to, I think Dr. Sylvia Karpagam, for I think regular Aura readers, who does not need any introduction because she has been a wonderful supporter of Aura. And for somebody like me and many of us who are not, do not have too much knowledge of health and the finer details of health, she has been somebody who has always consistently raised the right questions. And as a public health doctor, I think one of the most unique perspectives that she brings is to combine the expertise of medicine and the questions of social justice, of access, of equality, of equity. So, Dr. Karpagam, before, I think maybe you can come back to you with one question. I mean, you can speak for a little bit, then I'll come back to you with one short question if you have some more time. So, what about first of all, what about the question of women's access to health in the Indian healthcare system? Is it equitable? Is there an sense of access or lack of access that is influenced by gender, in your view? And not just gender, because we have said about all women today, and the questions of caste, the questions of class, region, all of them play a very important role. So when we speak about the health sector, how is it uniquely experienced by different kinds of women?
Thank you, Shaima, and I would like to appreciate Aura for this initiative. I think it's important to have these conversations, and I think it's also nice that you've invited panelists from very diverse group, and that means the magazine itself is open to dialogue and sometimes conflicting or contradictory views, and I think that's those spaces are very important. Because it shouldn't be that we become echo chambers and everyone just says what everyone else is saying. In the context of health, see, basically health is defined as a state of complete physical, mental, social, and psychological well-being. It's not only the absence of disease. So if somebody asks you, how are you feeling? We don't say, oh, today I don't have diarrhea, today I don't have headache, today I don't have stomach pain, so I must be healthy. It's a state that we aspire to. And in the Indian context, spirituality is also very important. For example, during the COVID pandemic, a lot of people were living, in silos, in isolation. They were not having their social networks. Many of them, talked about depression, about feeling a sense of hopelessness. And a lot of people actually, spirituality did help them. But if you see in the larger context of what's happening in India, there is a targeting of people based on their religion, based on their caste, and of course based on their gender. And in that context, it's important for us as people who are affected by this kind of larger atmosphere to think and start asking questions. And especially if you look at how healthcare, it became very visible during the pandemic that healthcare is extremely unequal in many ways. All communities, people of all religions, all caste groups, of different gender or sexual orientation, they don't access healthcare equally. There is a difference, and there are a lot of barriers both to health and to healthcare. So, for example, if you take, if you take a nutritional indicator, if you take stunting, then it matters which religion you belong to, which geographic area you belong to, which gender you belong to, which caste group you belong to. And it's important for us to look at healthcare not just as a curative model where we say if there are hospitals, then that area must be healthy. Because then if you look at the disproportionate number of hospitals in the urban areas, you would assume that people in urban areas are much more healthy, but that's not necessarily true. And again, what the health system, it became very visible is that it, so first of all, if you look at medical education itself, is very westernized, it's very urban centric, it's very elitist. The kind of people who are making policy decisions are not necessarily connected to what's happening in the rest of the country. And they tend to have a very corporatized or a commercialized kind of model of healthcare. And we also see within the medical education, there's a lot of discrimination. So you look at, I think one of the very outstanding, very visible examples was of Dr. Payal Tadvi, who was in Mumbai, and she was a second-year PG. She's from the Bhil community. She's a tribal Muslim community, and she actually faced so much of harassment, so much of bullying. And the thing is, she and her mother, as well as her husband, they tried to access all systems of justice, and the systems failed her, and she finally, had to take her own life. And what was actually very striking was the response from the rest of the doctors and from the larger society. Basically, doctors said, if you are coming into a medical education, then you expect some amount of bullying. But I think it's important for us to understand that bullying as an incident, which all of us, maybe in higher education or even as doctors, we have, found our seniors may bully us, but they are isolated incidents, and we still have access to some forms of justice. But when it's targeted because of a person's gender, a person's religion, a person's caste or class group, it's a structural kind of discrimination. It's a structural kind of harassment and bullying, which is very difficult for individuals to fight against. And it's important to, I'm just saying in the context of healthcare. So within the healthcare system itself, there are all these barriers. And we also saw during the COVID pandemic, on one end of the spectrum, you have the doctors and sometimes the nurses who are glorified as gods, and everyone's praising them and giving taliyas and all that to them. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have what we call the invisibilized frontline workers. You have the cleaners, you have the people handling the dead bodies, you have people handling the waste, you have people cleaning the bodies, the sanitation workers, again from very marginalized communities. A majority of them are Dalit communities, and they face different forms of exploitation, whether it's labor law violations, sexual harassment, verbal harassment, occupational hazards. So within this system itself, you can make out that there's so much of variation in how people experience, their experiences within these systems. And then if you look at the healthcare system itself, again, it can be a very discriminatory kind of model. And again, we saw that during the COVID pandemic. We saw the targeted communalization of the pandemic, the way the Muslim community was targeted. And a lot of time was actually lost, which could have been used to actually prevent the serious consequences that happened during the second wave. Instead, a lot of energy went into trying to find a target, to find a scapegoat. And with the current government, it is invariably the Muslim community. And because of that, it actually affected people very, tangibly. The people faced a lot of economic issues. There was social boycott of people from the Muslim community, which affected them economically. It also affected the access to healthcare. So when people were actually going for deliveries or going for healthcare, they had to face a lot of verbal abuses, a lot of discrimination, in fact, denial, negligence. And, even a textbook was brought out, which gave a lot of wrong information. So the healthcare system itself, needs to relook itself and needs to understand how it's being discriminatory, whether it's based on someone's occupation. Like, for example, if someone is doing sex work and they go to access healthcare, the way the system treats them, or someone, say she's a teenager and she is pregnant, or she has a sexually transmitted disease, the way the system treats her, or someone seeking abortion services and she's not married, the way the system treats her. So all of these things, I think they manifest in a lack of equality, in something as basic as healthcare services. So I'll stop there for now, and then I can continue.
Yeah, I think you brought up some very good points. One thing, of course, is that the access to healthcare, that is like women's access to healthcare, and the other two, I think, interconnected questions that I would like to ask you, a short and in brief, maybe we could discuss. One is this the question of data and research. There has been work on that the diseases that affect women more have been under-researched or underfunded in some senses. So, in the sense that for whether it is gynecological issues or even, certain kinds of cancer, etc. So, how important is data to the entire project of health? Because data has been something that has been spoken about a lot, but data is also something that has been fudged a lot, like whether it is in the COVID thing or otherwise. So, is it true that women's diseases or women's health are not uniquely paid or if sufficiently paid attention to in terms of policy and planning, or even in terms of research and development?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been very little attention given to women's health as a field in itself. Usually, women are seen as a miniature version of men. So, if men receive 20 milligrams of a drug, then they say, okay, women would receive a lesser dose. But then there's very little research on how the metabolism of women work, how the other aspects, like what happens to disease during menstruation or during pregnancy. There's very little research on those aspects of it. And even in terms of healthcare, it's again a very male dominant caste centric kind of model, because of which very often women do not feel that their illnesses are given due attention. So, for example, you have almost 60% of women who are anemic, and one of the common symptoms of anemia is fatigue. They complain of excessive tiredness, they can complain of joint pains, body ache. But very often, when the women go to a healthcare system, they are treated as a psychosomatic condition. They say, eat properly, or they're treated in a very generic way, and they're given a painkiller and sent home. And similarly, if you're looking at, say, sexually transmitted diseases, women often don't even have the language to articulate some of these healthcare issues. So they might go, say a woman has a vaginal discharge, or she has a problem, with her reproductive system. She might go and say something like, I have a back pain, or I'm feeling tired. And, there's very little effort that goes into offering her a space where she can participate as a stakeholder. And very often it's seen that women come later and in more serious situations. So they wait before they access healthcare because, they need someone to accompany them. Like one of the earlier speakers said something about, women need someone to accompany them. My question is, why is the society in such a way that women need somebody to accompany them? Like, why can't we focus on making public spaces more accessible to women and making healthcare more accessible to women, rather than saying, like if you say that a woman needs someone to accompany her to a healthcare system, then that essentially means that the number of women accessing services is going to come down. The more she's dependent on a larger system, the more difficult it's going to be. So, and also in terms of the social determinants of health, you need to look at issues of sanitation, of nutrition, of education. It's known that the more a woman is educated, the better the health indicators and nutrition indicators of the child is going to be. So we need to also, give a lot of attention on the social determinants of health.
Right. I think very interesting things that I think some things that you reminded me of. One, of course, was like you said, women come later. Like this has been seen a lot in the cases of heart attacks, even, right? Like because pain manifests differently, and women also sort of get used to more and more pain, right? And they sort of don't, because if you speak out, then there's this thing that you're complaining too much, and sort of kind of suppress everything, and it kind of erupts later. And so I think those are very interesting and very granular data and conversations about health. So thank you. Kavita Srivastav of the PUCL. Kavita Srivastav is a very senior activist and has been involved in many movements, many social movements, and and as somebody who has been always in the civil society seeking justice for people of marginalized communities, oppressed groups. And Kavita, ma'am, are you? Yes, you're here. So I have, since you are very well aware of, and the work that PSUL has done is very well aware of the history of like social oppression and injustice in many, whether it is large scale violence or it is individual cases of injustice. What I would like to ask you again, like with Sylvia ma'am, I thought I would ask you two smaller questions. Recently, the anniversaries of two pogroms went by, Gujarat and Delhi as well. So there is a very unique gender question in many of these violence, incidents of violence or carnage, to the point where women are particularly targeted. There is rape, so on and so forth. So in your years of work, I'm sure you must have met many women, given received their testimonies and so on and so forth. So how are women uniquely targeted in incidents of communal violence? That is my first question to you. And if we can, I'll come back to my second question once you're done with this.
Yeah, firstly, I would like to thank Aura for inviting me, and in the principle and the spirit of diversity of opinion in any publication, I would like to begin by thanking you for inviting me, at the same time stating that I did find a few things problematic about your masthead. How can equality be endangering, because our Indian constitution very clearly defines equality as being equal under the law, and what we're seeing just now in the whole hijab framework is something quite serious, which is, it's denying equal protection of the law. And what you raised, the question that you raised about the riots, that's about equal protection under the law. How can it be that one community can be targeted? Like, okay, 20 years of Gujarat or 2 years of the Northeast of the Delhi violence. Why Northeast of the Delhi violence? What was it? It was somewhere questioning this very tenet of the Indian constitution, equality. That we will not, that the police very clearly was with those who came to kill, those who came to loot, and pushed a community to be completely not just so many killings, but looted and whatever. I mean, their homes burnt. So I really think this term, in the question that you asked me, in the question that you asked Sylvia, and in this, what the earlier speaker said, I think this term equality is very, very important. And if we don't thrash this out, I'm telling you, we will end up somewhere giving indignity to women, because what emanates from equality is precisely this: my autonomy, my dignity. Now, a community's autonomy, or a community's dignity, or in the specific sense, a woman's autonomy and a woman's dignity. And I think if we wish to respond further to your question and to what some of the speakers said, I really think that at this point of time, we have to insist on a few things. And I think we need a lot of reason at the moment. We need a lot of love in society to build solidarities, and we need a lot of reason also to counter. And I think we need to do everything for women, and everything needs to be done by the state for women or community, which helps them keeping intact their world of reason. And sometimes I fear that when we say family, 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 we are taking the woman away from the world of reason. And I think there can be no empowerment without the world of reason. So I don't know, your first question relating to what happened in these genocide was something that we have to ask ourselves, that why did the criminal justice system betray us? The police betrayed us because that was a political targeting that happened. Why did the criminal justice system betray us? Why did the courts not treat us equal under the law? And that can only be argued by reason. I mean, we have to tell women, you have to come in the world of education. You've got to take education, whatever, we cannot divide it up by pastology all the time. We are living in a time today, whatever, it's a mix of various cultures, of various times. Even in today in Rajasthan, you will have people living in medieval centuries, where they're moving on a camel cart. And at the same time, you may have airplanes. So this mix of cultures, wherever we are located, whoever we are addressing, as far as whether it is Muslim women, whether it is Hindu women, we've got to get them to question us also, question our beliefs also. Women have to learn to question. Protection, many a times, the term that we've used, protection, many a times becomes, something to deflate my sense of reason. So, I think that what the Indian state has done, concluding what you said, and I'd like your second question, concluding your first question, that there is no other way to fight this battle of being persecuted, of being invisibilized, of being, denied justice, is but occupying public spaces. It's coming out and taking what is yours under the Indian Constitution, not being pushed back into families. I sometimes wonder, I was reading and I circulated the RSS, one of the RSS important heads, Sir Karyavak, a letter he writes to Amit Shah in 2019. And he says, don't, हिंदी में मैं बोलूंगी, मूल कर्तव्य औरतों का है कि वे बच्चों को संस्कार दें, और अगर आप टिकट औरतों को देंगे या औरतें राजनीति में आती हैं तो औरतें संस्कार से भी दूर हो जाती और संस्कृति से भी दूर हो जाती. What a good way to keep women out of politics. What a smart way to keep that your role is to be in the family and rear children. And we men, will manage politics. We'll manage the public spaces. In fact, the time has come and there is a continuum of the kind of crimes. 20 years of Gujarat, straightforward, have the victim of genocide of Gujarat got justice? We all have been doing meetings and we feel that the society has just got divided. The hijab row just completely divides the classroom. Where have we reached? People not being rehabilitated. So my point, in the framework of equality and empowering, not endangering, in the framework of reason and not just family, in the framework of coming of taking what is mine by right. Equality under the law is mine by right. I have to be out as a doctor, as an engineer, as a lawyer, as a judge, as anywhere, everywhere. And last thing, they cannot, no state can interfere with our autonomy like no family can interfere with my autonomy. Fatima Mernisi, one of the finest writers who wrote about Muslim women behind the veil, said that the most precious gift God gave us humans is reason. And then she goes on to say, what is dignity? Dignity is to have a dream, a strong one, which gives you a vision, a world where you have a place. You have to a place which you where you can contribute to make a difference. And I think it's time women, definitely Muslim women, need to come out and say, we can make a difference. And she also goes on to say that a woman could be totally powerless, you know, because she has been pushed somewhere. But by dreaming about flight, by dreaming her life, by dreaming about flight in her life, she can make all the difference. So I would say two things. One is, it's time Muslim women came out despite everything to take what is theirs by right. Occupy all public spaces. We have to push ourselves. Secondly, don't endanger our conversations. Our discussions must never endanger. I'm using your word. Our women's sense of reason, the women's sense of flight, the women's sense of justice, never get it endangered. These conversations sometimes push up back, and we have to learn to respect diversity. We are all very different people. We need to respect that. We need to respect all kinds of situations.
Right. In the interest of the writer's privilege, I think I will allow the chief editor to respond to the question about the endangerment and empowerment in her concluding address, since that is her article. But on to my second question, again, quite a specific question, I guess. So recently we have seen, or not recently, perhaps I think the history of social movements has also been tied up with the history of law, and how litigants have been going to courtrooms from district courts right up to the Supreme Court to get many of their rights re-established. But there has also been very interesting work, I think research work on how this term has come up in the Delhi program, particularly how the process itself becomes the punishment, like this whole process of going to court. And so since, as you have worked with PUCL, what are there, even today in this hijab judgment, there is a lot of, I would even say, hopelessness of getting, justice from courts. However, we see...
You mean the interim?
Yeah, the interim order.
Let's call it interim.
Yes,
and still fight if the judgment.
No, but what I mean is, at the end of it, or if you listen to any kind of survivors of even the worst pogroms, they still say we have faith in the Indian judiciary, right? So this kind of, you could call it a contradiction or a coexistence of both hope and exhaustion. How do you think women have navigated? Like Zakia Jafri's case is still going on, right? So have you worked with a lot of women who have, fought their way through law courts?
So yes, and please let me tell you, I work with very ordinary women, and these and justice is so remote, so removed. And you won't believe it, I have cried in courtrooms. I would actually start crying. I'm not a lawyer. I'm into legal praxis. So I would start feminist legal praxis. I'm a feminist. And I would start crying. कि क्या हम कभी नहीं जीतेंगे कोई केस, क्या हमारी औरतों के सामने हार ही रहेगा? And these are like the Bhavri Devi rape case, domestic violence cases. The girl has been put to death and yet we are unable to convict. So I want to state in the context of your question that there are two things I want to say. Number one, we have to support the Constitution fully. We cannot support it selectively. Okay, and I want to particularly make a choice that we cannot say that we don't give women the right to choose to live in a relationship out of marriage. We cannot say that. That also the Constitution gives. The Constitution also gives the LGBT the right to be, as they wish, my right to self-determination. We cannot say that you may disagree with that idea, but the Constitution gives them the right. You cannot be selective as far as the Constitution is concerned. Similarly about abortion. So I would like to say that the only way that you can move on in this period of injustice is, and if we take Zakia Jafri has put all her faith, not just in the Indian constitution, also in the system, knowing that that system has delivered justice to very few. I mean, 1,000 people officially were killed. All of us know 2,000. But the bodies could not be produced. They could not bring that evidence. So 1,000 only. We know how many. Okay, Bilkis Bano got justice. Naroda Bhatia people got some justice. Those burnt in the train got some justice. Some others got some justice. But most people surrendered in Gujarat. They agreed to the terms of returning home. Take back your case and return home. Yet somebody like Zakia Jafri has come for the justice of a husband who was a member of parliament, who believed in existing in the framework of the Indian constitution and being a legislator where he represented everybody, you know. And I think more of that justice, it's 20 years. Now the Supreme Court has to deliver its judgment on two things. On the role of Narendra Modi in the riots and what happened to Ehsan Jafri. And I think I want to believe that we will get justice. We will get justice from the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court doesn't, we will go and review. We know that the courts are at the moment under the influence of the ruling dispensation, and the person is the Prime Minister. They may fear, but why are we not building public pressure? Where is the discourse to lead the courts, to give reason? I'm not saying that we want the court to be, we want to convince them. We want to tell the courts that you have to, we have to build that sense of reason, that sense of argument. We need many more writings. We are on social media. We need to write a lot, all of us. We need to build pressure from all levels to get the Supreme Court to say that if it doesn't deliver justice, it is the Supreme Court that is on trial at the moment. It is the Supreme Court which is on trial. We have to tell that to the Supreme Court. And it is our pen, it is our word, it is our reason that will do that. And I really think it's my autonomy. My autonomy makes me think, let's not give up on these values, please. In this webinar, I want to bring it again and again. Dignity is a vision. That is the first thing that I want to say. And the judgment, as far as the hijab thing is concerned, it's a straightforward issue. The issue that the girls went with was, we want to access education. Let us into the classroom. That's all. They went with that. It was converted into a religious issue. And I think that we have to bring it back center stage. We have to bring it back. Suppose, I'm hopeful that our lawyers have argued very well. I'm hopeful that the courts will give us justice. And if the High Court doesn't, we'll go to the Supreme Court. Yes, we'll wait long. Zakia Jafri, 20 years, and see there's so much of patience. Women have struggled to reach here today. I mean, think of what our women, did they even come out for education? Did they could they even access schools? Were there even schools available? I think we will be patient. We will keep building the pressure that you cannot do injustice. What else do we have? I just met several families. We did a small tribunal, 2 years of the Delhi, riot affected. It was so tragic. We were crying. On the one hand, we were crying because their stories were heartrending. 2 years of COVID also put a shroud on that pain and suffering. That pain and suffering never got a platform. We need a platform all the time. We need to create our own public platforms for these voices to be in the public domain. And I realized, had there not been COVID, these Some of these stories could have come out much earlier. I mean, it was, Sylvia just spoke, the denial of the Guru, that Guru Tegh Bahadur Hospital, denial of giving health services and saying, Azadi mil gayi, because women led the agitation for the anti-CAA. Azadi mil gayi, le lo Azadi. They were, you know, spoken badly. They went into worse trauma. Yet, when we asked them this question, what keeps you going? They said, the sense of justice. One of them is a witness to the police doing a firing. And he was jailed and he was beaten up so badly and he's lost, his left arm has gone. So we said, what do you feel? And he said that I will not ever give up on justice because that's the only hope that I'm living with. And I cannot live without hope. Okay, forget the courts. What did the Arvind Kejriwal government do? Compensation? Nobody even got compensation. A cow, the compensation given to a cow was 5,000 rupees. Do you get a goat even for 5,000 rupees? Damages, what? I mean, it was so worrying. Yes, I am winding up. But can we tell those people that we will not speak out for you? We all have to speak out. We all have to come together and speak out for them. We have to come together and raise our voices on all the platforms they have, and we have to create new platforms. We have to have our own autonomy to create those new platforms. Today, I can't even create an organization. They come and try to ban us. They call us frontliners. They call me Maoist. So friends, we are in a tough time. Our solidarity with each other, our love for each other. We have to love each other. We have to build a world of love, but not give up on our struggles for justice. And that will only come if we are hopeful and the Indian Constitution will deliver. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As you said very beautifully, that dignity is a dream and it is a vision. I think you reminded me in some strange way, even as you spoke about public space, you reminded me of Virginia Woolf's Room of One's Own, because even the vision for envisioning public space must begin with a space for oneself, which is often sorely lacking in.
Which is autonomy.
Yes.
Spaces, so, physical, mental, both.
Yes. So
emotional.
Yes. So coming to our final speaker for the panel, Dr. Shehnaz Begum. Dr. Shehnaz Begum, are you here? Yes. Dr. Shehnaz Begum is a professor of English from Darbhanga, Bihar, and has been again a long-time supporter, well-wisher of Aura and a contributor as well. Dr. Begum, as the final speaker, as the concluding speaker of this panel, I think you could reflect on what all has been said so far. But again, since we did not discuss too much, particularly on the education sector itself, and you are somebody who has seen, we have discussed higher education, but you are somebody who has seen students, younger students as well, and girl students in particular, I'm sure. And as a woman teacher, as somebody who has been in the field for a very long time, what does this vision of dignity that was spoken of, vision of equality, vision of going beyond equality, not rejecting equality, but to go beyond it and to envision a world where girls' needs, in particular, since we are discussing girls these days, school girls in particular in the news, what does that work as an educator look like for you? Because the reason I'm asking you this is, we have seen that whether it is in the case of Payal Tadvi or in the case of Karnataka, educators, teachers who are supposed to be protecting, defending the rights of their own students are often silent. They become passerbys and bystanders and they do not intervene. So what is the active role of an educator for liberation of girl students? Not to, only limit, give them information in this, education, in this unfortunate education structure that we have, but to liberate them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And I greet all of you. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. So this has been really wonderful arguments and counter arguments have come to, and have, really the panel discussion has been marvelous. I would like to first of all try to thank all the presidential address, our Amir Jamaat and other speakers for reflecting.
I can't hear your voice. Your voice is cutting, Shahnaz Saiba. Shahnaz Saiba, it's not clear. Maybe you can move to some other part of the house and speak. Rama Saiba, can you hear, or is it my problem? Ramatrasa Saiba, can you hear Dr. Shahnaz Begum? She seems to have. Okay, she's here. Yeah, you're back.
Hello.
You can go. You can go. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Please continue. Yeah.
Perhaps I would start by thanking all the speakers for the wonderful arguments that they have placed here, and for the practical purposes also. We really, I go with Kavita ma'am, we need to restore our community, and for this, I think we have to go beyond equality. I would speak to you about the topic that it is in fact a little paradoxical, but from the another angle that arises here, how equality. Equality is defined.
Your voice is very unclear. Dr. Shahnaz Begum, are you still on the call?
Yeah, it's not clear now.
It has been like that since the beginning. She is on the call, but it's getting unmuted, and then cutting also.
Okay, can you, do you get me now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So as I was saying that this measurement of equality from the parameter of, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
The measurement of equality from the parameter of the male, that is a very problematic thing. Why should we measure women and then be granted equality from the male parameter, that the woman must be equal to the man? So this hypothesis itself is problematic. And so the question arises, remove these hypotheses, as falsifications, and then start thinking anew. And here comes the topic, beyond equality. Actually, both genders don't compete with each other in the question of equality. They really complement each other and complete the divine plan of progress of humanity. So the species of mankind includes specifically, both genders for this very purpose. Hence, in some spheres, men can achieve more and they also deserve more. There are other spheres in the meanwhile where women play greater role and hence they deserve more. So it should be beyond equality. That means our endeavors should exceed the concept of equality and go beyond to nourish, to attain these states. There must be ease of access.
Your voice is not clear again. Dr. Shahnaz? Dr. Shahnaz, your voice is not clear again.
Can you get me?
Now we can hear.
Now it's here, yeah.
Okay. So, hence,
no, it's the same again, actually.
Therefore, when we come to the question of gender justice, we have to somehow or other, go beyond equality to attain justice and human rights, to attain political, social, and cultural.
Again, it has gone.
Yeah.
Lag. So maybe wind up and then in case if you're connected.
Okay.
I think there is some problem.
All right. I was trying to say that we should try and get a review, a rereading of the Quran itself to analyze how we can attain or we can empower women, how the Quran states it, because the Quran states things which have been interpreted, and the interpretations may not really be, they may be limited, the interpretations. As it is there, the humans and especially men have interpreted more than women. I think perhaps very, very few have interpreted what the Quran states and what it means. But those ayahs, those verses, which are really very clear about women's status and position, they don't actually state anything which is negative about women. It is our own sense of interpretation that we take it from the negative point of view. As you know, Asma Barlas and even this Jonathan A.C. Brown in Misquoting Muhammad, they have also argued that, for example, just one small example, the wife beating portion, it's not actually, they have not even been able to interpret the Arabic word daraba properly. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of example. Then we have, we have to see that what Allah has given or God has given for the rights and freedom to women. And then when we go through it from the Islamic point of view, I'm talking because I know many other theories may also be, giving women a lot of empowerment. But because I have made a concise, a little bit of study about the Quran and Hadith and the Islamic point of view, I'm trying to point out some things, which I have also been pointing out to students in my class. as you have said, that we really are silent about it. But we try to explain them also that the standpoint from the Quran point of view is that woman is to be venerated. Woman goes even beyond equality to be given justice and fair portion in the makeup of things, in the construction of society, because she really reflects a lot of sacrifices. She tries to devote herself to the
I think okay, he's back. It's back. Continue, please.
And that she has been conferred with a Rahm. So you see, the attribute of God itself, Al-Rahman, Rahm, the womb, from which we count our blood relations, that has been conferred to woman only. So then she's really to be venerated and to be kept very much protected. She needs to, because the woman is the real helper of,
your voice is gone, Dr. Shahnaz. Okay, I think since.
Okay.
I think your voice was, again, it was getting cut. But yes, we got the gist, alhamdulillah, and I think you spoke very well that one must, I think this is also the spirit of these discussions that we are having today and programs like this, where there may be many misgivings, there may be many disagreements, but we encourage that those of you who have questions, who have even maybe I think severe disagreements, to come and engage with us, because we have wonderful scholars, even like Dr. Shahnaz herself, who would be very happy to answer questions and answer whatever questions you may have. And the reason that Aura has also been created is to create this kind of public sphere. At our contributors program last month, Dr. Ghazala Jamil spoke about this idea of public sphere. And the public sphere is not just a platform, a Zoom call or a Twitter space or even a magazine, but it is the idea of talking to each other civilly and with dignity. And I hope that despite disagreements and despite all our differences, because we come from different places, we come from different languages and regions, we all can learn from each other. So coming to, I think, a very lovely and exciting part of our program that I have been also looking forward to is the performance and poetry section, the artistic section, you could call it. Today we have four are available on the call with us today, and one I will be, inshallah, playing a recording. 5 wonderful young women who are going to be reading their poems. One of them is going to be singing, and we hope that, I think all of you are already co-hosts. So I hand it back to Saima. I would have liked to conclude a little longer, but for the want of time, and we also do not want to keep all of you waiting because you've been listening to us for 2 hours. So instead, I think it's time to go on a lighter note, and we can hand it over to Saima. And after the performance, we will be having the concluding address by our chief editor, Rahmatun-Nisa. So back to you, Saima, and we can start with Mafaza, who is already, I think, a speaker, inshallah.
Jazakallahu khairan, Shaima. That was certainly a wonderful discussion with different people having different fields of expertise. Thank you everyone for putting up your thoughts and joining us today. Dearest audience, to make this evening of Aura's first anniversary celebration more memorable, we have an entertainment segment following up. As Robert Frost says, poetry is when an emotion has found its thought and the thought has found words. Poetry is thoughts that breathe and words that burn. Poetry is the rhythmical creation of beauty in words. Poetry is literature. Poetry is imagination. Poetry is the right words put up in the right way, touching one's heart. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Mafaza Sharfuddin to present her poem. Mafaza Sharfuddin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Mafaza Sharafuddin, and today I will be presenting for you a poem I wrote based on the current events that are plaguing our country, our state. I call this a legacy to femininity, and here it is. There will be no quietude, not anymore. Today, I stand devoid of all that solemn silence that stains you, the one that brushes you aside when you find it in yourself to speak and instead are told to hide. That silence that does not dare to say the horrors that lurk and prowl and prey on minds too young to understand. That silence that sits like towers of sand, menacing and tall, but how long will they stand? The word femininity lies dead in my throat, smelling sickly sweet like rotting fruit. I cannot breathe without purging it from me. And would that not be fitting, the way we start out small and unwitting and so unaware? Tell me, when was it that you stopped being a woman and became instead a daughter, a wife, a mother? Not a person, but an identity in confluence with another. How many deaths can one heart take? How many breaths will these little lungs hold before they break? I have grown weary of women being tethered to pain. I do not want to relate to your hardships. I do not want you to relate to mine. I want to fight for this test against time and find tomorrow's solace today. What can I say? I'm a dreamer. In my mind, I am fearless and limitless and strong. My heart does not beat faster when the sun goes down. I do not hold back. I do not stay quiet. I do not allow this black and white idea of who I should be poison my melody. But my mind is not reality. Are you not tired of living two lives, a fantasy of safety and well-being? And of course, the real world. And they will say, chin up, little girl. It isn't as bleak as it seems. And I will ask, where have you been? Where have you been as your sisters are stripped of their honor, of their peace? Where have you been? There is no release, no rights. Rights. The word feels unnatural in my mouth, as if I was made without it. Or maybe it was taken out of my tiny little fist before I was old enough to question it, and now it no longer fits. No matter. I will stitch it into my very veins. The legacy of femininity is pain. Do you think I cannot handle this too? There will be no more quiet words, no silent tears, no soft pleas for mercy. The truth is that I am full of fear, and I know that you are too. You will scream your sorrow, that ache that would break any man. You will shake the very ground upon which they stand, where they spit their vitriol. Do they think they can strip our souls, stop us so we cannot learn? I cannot say I will pity their petty ideology as it burns. They cannot tear this away from us. With their small minds and narrow gaze, do they not understand why it is that I take a stand? Every word I read is for the women who came before me, who never had the option. Every classroom a shrine to femininity. Read my lips. Read my frantic prayer. This is not a matter of whether I cover my hair or whatever I wear, but a war against who you are, who I am, where the intersection of identity falls flat against the minds of the weak. So tell me, will you speak? Will you shriek until they cannot choose to hear? Will you scream until they feel that fear that you were born with? A fear that they have never felt before. There will be no quietude. Not anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Jazakallahu khairan, Mafaza. MashaAllah. It was a very beautiful poem, beautiful recitation, and beautiful way of portraying the truth. Indeed, we did have goosebumps, just like one of our participants mentioned. Jazakallahu khairan, kathiran. Next in line, we have Husna Munawwara, and I would like to request her to present her singing. Sister Husna Munawwara.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Every time feel like you cannot go on. You feel so lost that you're so long. When the sea is night and darkness all around, you feel so helpless, you can't see which way to go. Don't despair and never lose hope, 'cause Allah is always by your side. Inshallah, 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 we'll find a way. Inshallah, 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 we'll find a way. Every time we make one more mistake, if you ever can't repent, that is too late. So confused, wrong decisions you have made. Heart your mind, our heart is full of shame. Don't despair and never lose hope. But Allah is always by your side. Inshallah, 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 we'll find your way. Inshallah, 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 we'll find your way. Turn to Allah, He's never far away. Would you trust in Him, raise your hands and pray? Oh yeah, Allah, kind mountain, don't let me go astray. You're the only one who can show me the way. Show me the way, show me the way, show me the way. Inshallah, 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 we'll find a way. Inshallah, 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 we'll find a way. Inshallah, 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 we'll find your way. Inshallah, 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 we'll find your way. Thank you.
MashaAllah, don't despair and never lose hope, because Allah is always by your side. Inshallah, you'll find your way. MashaAllah, those indeed were beautiful words, motivating words coming from such a melodious voice. Jazakallahu khairan husna. Next in line, we have Aisha Natasha Shafiq presenting her poem on the topic Graveyard. I would like to request Aisha Natasha Shafiq to present her poem.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Aisha Natasha Shafiq, and I am here to recite a poem I wrote on Graveyard. So let's start now. Our land is a graveyard. The soil under my home holds the bones of many unknown. They might have been a father, a sister, or a friend to people who were laid to rest, maybe even before them. I will never know their names. Was one a merchant? Was another a slave? Did they die or were they killed? 1,000 questions and none the same. The wind whistles at night, or did I perhaps mishear? Could it be the distant scream of a ghost girl? A shadow of a past I would never know of or hear. A history buried under the tales of heroes and foes who incited fear. I wonder if right below me is buried a girl of 18. Did she too love poetry, more to write than to read? Do we share the same name? Did she also wish once to be in her current state? Was her death natural or was she slain? Perhaps it was a young man who died for his betrothed, or a father who welcomed death so that his family need not. I wonder of the bones that lie beneath, who they were and how they'd been. Was their life painful? Were they ever not at peace? Did they know of the truth when they had lived, or did it only dawn on them when death was at their lips? Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallahu khairan, Aisha. Listening to both Aisha and Mafaza reminded me of the definition of a poet that I had recently read that said that poet is a person who possesses special powers of imagination and expression. Truly, indeed, very beautifully put up words and expressed in the right way. Jazakallahu khairan, Aisha. Next, we have Izzat Abdul Ghafoor presenting her poem from the latest issue of Aura, A Lustreless Rainbow. I would like to request Izzat to present her poem. Izzat, can you hear us?
Yes.
Your voice is breaking, Izzat. I'm sorry, we're still unable to hear you. Your voice is breaking.
Saima, I think Izzat joined from another phone is what she told me, and that is why it was not clear. So Izzat, maybe if you can go back and join from the first phone that you had joined or a laptop, we will call the next speaker till then, if you can fix your data or network. Yeah, you can go ahead and call.
All right, okay. So until Izzat is here, I would like to call upon Ishrat to present her poem.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good evening to all of you. I'm Ishrat Nabi and I'm from Kashmir. Am I audible?
Yes, Ishrat, you're audible.
Okay. As you know, so many people or scholars try to define women and womanhood. But still, it seems nebulous and undefined. So this poem speaks about how scholars or how people have defined me as she, and how I got disappearing their definitions, and so many other things are included in this poem. And this poem's name is Defining She, an Oxymoron. So it's exhausted to define me. They have oceans of words. Woman, female, belle, and ewe. Presented my case before different courts. Traditional, feministic, to name a few. Lifting my case up in fantasies, while ignoring me in the dreary pits of realities. Like the dead in the shrouds, the intellectuals and the scholars buried me in the piles of papers to become the prolific writers. But for me, who cares a bit? They don't know me even a whit. Ruthlessly dissected me with the brutal instruments of logies, psychology, sexology, emotionology, ontology. I am intuitive, subjective, feeling, not logicality, fragility, even frailty, emotion, not rationality, as they say it, or to them these sayings fit. Man I couldn't become, women I didn't remain. In their discourses, I lost my identity. Now for God's sake, tell me who is she? Not the human for sure, but mere an issue, reduced to baits of hooks and titles of books. Brushed me off to the annals of obscurity, now are collecting my cinderines, rummaging the remnants in vanity. Even today, when I close my eyes and remind the heyday of my majesty, oh, that valor, splendor, and glory, bowing to me was sunshine. I was half, and half the world was mine. Then that imposing edifice we built together. My marrow cemented the bricks, and blood gave it color. Completed up to the rooftop, they pushed me off. Since then, balancing on the brink of abyss, for who have stones in lieu of hearts may note this and give me bliss. But they stabbed me with the kiss. In the silver garb, that white man came, goodness personified or angel for dame. But his intent was to play a game. What he did was nothing but same, presented me as an emblem of misery. He went to every nook and cranny, trampled me to become taller, but dressed himself, managed me to collar. In the sham dictations of equality and justice, in the disguise of fights and rights, they instrumentalized me to justify their supremacy, define me in very lucrative terms, yet my case is unsolved, nebulous, and undefined. Not exactly the new phenomena. They are used to this so-called defining, attempted the unseen ages ago, and was speculative. Now I am the woe. Absolute folly the defining was. Useless the effect and same the cause. I am the incubator of might. Feet were on my shoulders while touching the height. I am the tomb of untold histories. I am the grave of unheld mysteries. Oh, defining me is not that simplex. Like unseen, am I not the complex? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jazakallahu khairan, Ishrat. I'm sure from the audience, we had a lot of people who had read your poem, definitely in Aura in e-magazine, but listening to it with emotions is certainly altogether a different feeling. Next, we have Izzat Abdul Ghafoor. Can you hear us now? Presenting her poem.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is it clear now?
Yes, it's quite clear now.
Okay. So I'm going to recite a poem that I wrote. It is called Lustreless Rainbow. It is a very short and it's a simple poem. I hope you all like it. Soulless, they called her, for she was torn, wrecked and shrunken to the very last bone. The hopes of survival solely lay in her core, but soon, so sadly, that too was gone. Selfish, they called her, but no, that was wrong. The hopes that she's gone through left scars that are thorns. Her life demanded more from her, more than she could hold. Harshly, too harshly, she was left out on her own. Whilst looking closely, you could say she was a poem, a soft, unspoken, rhythmic tone. Her subtle strokes on every living form proves how clearly all these while she was alone. Now as she lays down, up above her a stone, spoken words about her life left people to mourn. A rainbow they called her, its lusterless or none, a painful tragic story, a criticized song left undone. Jazakallah khair.
MashaAllah, Jazakallahu khairan, Izzat. Those were strong words put up in the right way, I would say. Jazakallahu khairan. Listening to all of these poems reminds me of Khalil Gibran, who said once that poetry is a deal of joy and pain and wonder with the dash of dictionary. And indeed it is, and our participant poetesses have definitely proved it today. Next in line, we have our last performer for the entertainment segment today, another poetess of this evening, Hiba Farooq. I would like to request Shaima to play her poem recording since she's not available with us today.
Right. Assalamu alaikum. Hiba's poem, Hiba, as you might know, is a published poet and has also shared some of her poetry and even her prose with Aura in the past. And we wish her all the best with her future poetry and all her endeavors. Today, she has sent us one of her poems, The Barren Land's Curse. So I am just going to play her recording. Inshallah.
The poet has fled the land, barren it has been for a journal's stretch. Rituals of all sorts to bring her back, to erase the curse she blessed with. She raged a war and the land was silent. She flooded tears and the land slept. She choked fire and the land danced. She whispered a curse and the land woke. Granted, she was taken. And now, well, now the land is dry and dusted, so they look for her. Which bubble is she hiding? Whose womb is she living? What game is she playing? long and lost in a child's canvas, the poet sleeps tired, for she waits and waits, alas, not to be found. Lost but resting, she waits.
Thank you.
Jazakallahu khairan. That was again very strong words coming from a very good poetess. Jazakallahu khairan to all the participants. After listening to such talented young poetesses, we move over to the concluding address of the evening. I would like to request Rahmatunnisa Sahiba, Chief Editor of the Aura e-magazine, who has been working hard since day one and being the strong support of the Aura team. I would like to request you to kindly deliver the concluding address.
Assalamu alaikum. May the Almighty's peace and blessings be upon all of us. Without much ado, I just want to share a few of my thoughts and conclude so that because now it's almost 9:20, at least by 9:30 we need to conclude. So I'm not going to delay too much with my talk. First of all, I would like to thank every one of you who made this event a great, beautiful, memorable event, and so many talents put together. Especially our young girls, they really moved all of us. They touched our heart because it is poetry. We always say that poetry, as William Wordsworth said, it is emotions recollected in tranquility. The kind of emotions that our youngsters, our young girls are going through, that is what is being reflected through today's presentations. Let's hope that they will be able to write poems of rejoice, happiness in future India. Let's hope, and all of us, let's work together for it. And I'm also grateful to our panelists. This is the very idea of our policy, that we bring together different opinions and we give space to differ. Let's agree to disagree. That is our policy, and we believe in that. And whenever, I really appreciate our, panelists for sharing their opinions boldly, frankly, and that is what we also wanted. And I thank you so much for being a great support. And only when, we start our dialogues and debates, we will be able to, clear a lot of our misconceptions, or maybe we will be able to share our thoughts and come to some certain understanding. So I really appreciate all our, panelists for that. And of course, I would like to thank Amir-e-Jamaat, Dr. Sadatullah Hussaini Sahab. He has been a great support and encouragement when we started this great project as a dream 1.5 years ago. And the moment we shared with him the thought, he, was the first one to support and encourage and give a green flag independently to work for to bring out such a magazine. So I thank all of you, and especially my entire editorial team. The editor Aisha Sahiba and the sub-editor Shaima, and our multimedia team for the audio recording and videos making, and the designers Iram Rahman, and everyone put together is what makes Aura possible every month in time, and it is in your hands. Until now, 13 issues we were able to bring it out in time. Many people put a lot of effort as volunteers, 24/7. Anytime you call them, they are ready to help and support. That is what makes Aura possible. It's not just one person's effort or one person's achievement. It is the achievement of all of you, the entire team, and especially you readers. And especially we have such readers who immediately give us feedback, whether it is good or bad, which makes us grow. And our growth never ends. Our effort to pursue in pursuit of excellence, it's always a journey and it never ends. Coming to the topics that are being discussed in the panel discussion, because Shaima mentioned that I will be answering it, but I don't want to answer or contradict anything that our speakers have said. What they said and what I said in the article. If you go through it one more time, it is this one and the same. Actually, what I wanted to establish was, it is not equality slogans. It is for asking for more than equal. For the kind of role that a woman is playing in society, it is not that, we need to demand for, we must get equal. We need to ask for, demand for more. We have the right, and we should, muster the courage. It's time for us to ask for more. And the danger with the equality slogans is like, for example, I have given an example of a woman who works in the same company as a man. The man would, hire a driver, or the company would give him a driver, and he would be sitting at the back seat and, relaxing, and he will be, commuting to his office. But when a woman of the same rank asks for a driver or a car, immediately the question comes, then what equality are you talking about? Then what empowerment are you talking about? So you don't know how to drive. So this is the sort of thing in the rat race for, when we say equality, it is the way it is being interpreted by some people. That is the problem lies in that. In the rat race for being approved as equal to men, women are trying to imitate or trying to do dehumanizing themselves and trying to do what men are doing, or, trying to show that I'm at par with you. That is not the case. We have to now demand that in order to put into effect, in order to utilize effectively, in order to enjoy womanhood, the feminine aspect of a woman should be accepted. A woman should be accepted as woman and given the same type of opportunities or similar type of opportunities that men are given. That is where the equality should come, equal opportunities to excel in all the fields. So this is what I was talking about in the article. And if you go through the article, you will be able to understand. And there are many things which might be in our society legally correct, but they might not be morally correct or morally appreciable. That might be against the value system, and that might be in the long run, that might be, that has proved to be throughout centuries, throughout history, such things have proved to be in the long run harmful to women themselves, in the name of liberty, in the name of, maybe equality. If we go for such things, what happens is that is, in the long run, it proves to be harmful to womanhood and women themselves and families. Family is very important, and in which both men and women have roles. Some people believe that raising children, taking care of them is only the duty of women. It's not like that. It is the duty of men also. But of course, there are times, especially below the age of 2 years, a woman needs to give more care, breastfeeding and the delivery, the pregnancy. These pains a woman has to undergo, but that doesn't mean that it is the only responsibility of woman to raise the children. There are certain areas where women are created. That is why there is a famous saying, women are created not to do what men are doing. Women are created to do even what men are not able to do. There are certain things which only a woman can do. So for this role that she plays, she has to be given more than equal. And this is what we need to ask for. And this is what we need to demand for. So I request all of you to go through the article again, and we can always have dialogues. Let's agree to disagree and have more dialogues in that. And regarding Aura, it is not a small thing that within 1 year, Aura has already carved a niche in the realm of English publications and especially online publications. And it is receiving attention, widespread attention among our readers. And that is not a small thing, especially when it comes from a Muslim platform. Muslim women are running it. That is something great. Those Muslim women, as our president of Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, Sadatullah Hussaini Sahab said, those Muslim women who are in the name of tradition and in the name of the wrong interpretation of the religion were kept aside or were not given the chance to assert or do something constructive in the field of education, in the field to acquire knowledge and do something constructive for the society and come to the political and social arena and become contributing members. And also the other side, where in the name of what do we say, equality or liberty or whatever it is, women are made to some certain women, especially from the Muslim background, wearing a hijab and coming out, they are looked down upon as conservative, as worth nothing, as women who don't have any voice, as somebody who should be pushed aside, kept out. And now that is what is happening. Literally the gates of education are getting shut on hijab wearing women. So this is going on in the name of whatever it is. So in spite of all these, some Muslim women are able to bring out a magazine like this, and it is getting wide acceptance in the society. It's not something small. It's a great achievement, and I congratulate the entire team, everyone who supported the Aura e-magazine for that. And at the same time, we have written, our written policy says, and we also again and again declare, and also we try our maximum level best to present and to represent and to give platform to all those not voiceless but oppressed voices coming from all marginalized societies, Adivasis, Dalit, and we are trying. If you go through the magazine, you will understand that. And we have, pages where we educate the community regarding the real teachings of the Quran and the Prophet. We have pages where, everyone can be educated, every community, every family, and not only women, the entire family can be educated, women, children, men. Today, when I had a meeting with some youngsters, the youth, I was telling them, those who have got married recently and those who are going to get married, you people should read. They are men, but I told them you have to read Aura, especially our February issue. I was telling them what really it is, love and all that. So what I'm trying to say is, this is the uniqueness of Aura. We are for everyone, and not just for the Muslim women, that the magazine gives spaces, and we need to try to include more and more. And we have no claim that we are perfect. Perfection is with the Almighty. And as human beings, whenever we do something, we still have a long way to our perfection. It's just a journey. And that excellence and towards perfection, we can go easily as if all of you, those who are listening, all of you, our readers, if you give your genuine feedback, and if you demand, because we talk about the right to information. Actually, the readers have a right. In this age of a lot of misinformation, manipulated information, made up stories, and non-issues being projected as big issues, and real issues being ignored and not talked at all by the mainstream media, the reader has a right to demand what they really want to know, what they really want to be educated on. And I give all of you that right. You can always approach us. You can make a call. You can send an email. You can send a WhatsApp. In whatever form, you can always approach us and demand what you want. And you can all. And another greatest achievement of Aura is that within this 1 year, we were able to give space to around 200 writers, and among which many were debut writers. They were writing for the first time. It's not because they don't have the talent, but because they didn't know on what topic to write or in which way they have to write. And they didn't know that how to get it published, or maybe because the mainstream media or other media were not publishing their work. But we gave space to them, and that was also, those writings are also being very well accepted by our readers. They were not, we cannot say substandard ones, they're very high standard, writings they were. So as a conclusion, I would like to say that heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Let's hope and pray that Aura will be able to bring out better, issues with more useful topics. And I request all of you to keep supporting and keep encouraging the team. May the Almighty bless all of you. And at this opportunity, before concluding, my heart is full of prayers, and I think we all need to, for all those who are suffering across the world now because of the attack on Ukraine, and even Indian students are stranded there and they are waiting for the evacuation, and some have already reached. We need to really pray for them, and we stand with them. And like that, you know, in places like Palestine and across the world, there are many places where women, children suffer a lot because of, you know, people's greed and, you know, fascist approaches. And in India also, we have a lot of such problems, and many of our youth, youngsters, those in jail and outside, you know, their families suffer. Let's all, you know, extend a very hearty, you know, prayer and support to all of them. And may the Almighty bless all of you. Thank you so much. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Ameen, Ameen, Thumma Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakallahu khairan, Rahmatun Nisa Sahiba. A very beautiful point put forward. Let's agree to disagree and grow with each passing day. Dearest audience, this brings us to the end of today's wonderful, special, and unforgettable session. I would firstly like to thank the Almighty for His guidance from the beginning of planning until the end of today's event. Secondly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of the evening and for arranging today's session filled with life lessons to learn from, along with bringing smiles on our faces. A big thanks goes to the participants, Janab Sadatullah Hussaini Sahab, President Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, Chief Editor of Aura Magazine Rahmatun Nisa Sahiba, Editor Aisha Sultana Sahiba, Sub-Editor Shaima, and all contributors of today's evening, without whom the event was not possible. We are thankful for your time and efforts in making this event successful. We pray to the Almighty to bless you all and give more barakah in your time. Ameen. Last but not the least, what is an event without an audience, without listeners, without viewers, or without a gathering? Which reminds me of Leslie Stephen's quote, "A good talker, even more than a good orator, implies a good audience." Thank you for joining us today and making this evening even more special. Thank you for being a part of Aura. You are encouraged to keep in touch with us and feel free to comment and provide us with your reviews, and also let us know in what ways you can contribute to the magazine and help us in reaching out to more and more people. We can be contacted through our website, www.auramag.in, and you can also find us on the social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, and Telegram. With that, we come to an end of today's evening. Jazakallahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.